Today's topic is replacing the 3 R's with the 3 C's in your pursuit of sustainability excellence. Hey, everybody loves an acronym. The 3 R's, for those who don't know, is reduce, reuse, recycle. And years ago, it made a lot of sense, but as people are now striving for what's called zero waste, and that is 80% diversion and above, a Clean River original was we created what's called the 3C concept. Simply put, the 3 C's represent culture, communication, and collection. And over 28 years in business, I've determined that these are the phases that most of the businesses go through. And for an example, everyone will start off with the recycling program, and it starts at the bottom with collection. So what they'll do is create containers so they can collect the low-hanging fruit, whether it's a soda or pop can or paper. So they get that going. So the collection starts. But then what happens is they may be able to hit to a 20-25% diversion, and then the program falls off. If you're going to make a difference, you have to communicate and, more importantly, educate. So what we've seen is people now start on the communication, and this could be communication programs, newsletters, proper labeling. Then the program starts to gain traction again, and what we've also noticed is that it'll hit a certain plateau, and again it stalls and starts to dip down. For the companies that are very serious about getting to the next level, that third C represents culture. And as we all know, culture is the #1 driver of success. And when you have culture in place, really driving the sustainability program, that's where you're going to see the best results and really get up to those lofty, sustainable goals where you are a true steward of the environment. But what I've noticed over the years is the 3 C's, basically people have been doing it backwards. They start with the collection, go to communication, and then culture. But it's my belief, if you start with culture right at the beginning, you could probably give someone a shoebox, and once they bought into what you're doing, they don't need fancy containers. They know what's at stake here, and they can do the right thing. Just to go a little bit more in depth on the 3C, the collection, which most people start at the beginning, this is the flow of materials from the front of the house to the back of the house. And it also involves reviewing your hauler contract just to see what you can collect, and also understanding the volumes and frequency, the aesthetics of the containers versus the practicality of them, and also financial restraints. One of the things we've seen is people will just take old containers and just put a new label on it, and it doesn't look very good. And this is what we call putting lipstick on a pig. The other thing is color coordination, so they're not all the same color. This will make a difference. But most importantly, you have to consider the servicing and the time, because although you're going to be collecting the material in these containers, it's your custodial or support services that really is going to impact their life on time and labor, and it's going to be easy to do, and also thinking about change for the future. The next part is communication. And communication is extremely critical and can involve things like the green team implementation, senior management goals. They have to buy into this, and also putting out the metrics and the KPIs, what you were collecting, what your goal is, and what you've achieved. You need to have fresh and relevant updates. You can't just do a program on Earth Day and say, we're done here. People need to be constantly pushed along and reminded about what the right thing is to do, and yes, that they are making a difference. And towards the end, sharing best practices has always been critical, which leads right into the continuous education and training, because new employees do come on and some employees exit, so everybody has to be on the same page. But as I talk about the culture aspect of recycling, leadership is key. They need to put that stake in the ground, because if they don't buy into the program, pretty much it's not going to happen. And this leads right into areas from innovation, transparency, the engagement of all the employees, and even reaching out to what's called an EPP, the Extended Producer Policy. Will companies take materials back? You got to ask the question. You never know. And one of the things that has made people chuckle is we've come up with a term called CAVE people, C-A-V-E. And this is basically, break it down to, the CAVE represents citizens against virtually everything. And I've often laughed about this. Even if you're handing out $50 bills, people are suspect. But some companies have these CAVE people around, and no matter what you do, there's always going to be pushback. So the question I ask a lot of you out there is, how is your culture, and can you get a check on that to see where you're positioned right now before you launch a sustainability program? At the end of the day, we all need to make a change, and I believe that if you follow the traditional 3 R's, it'll get you to a certain point, but it won't get you to that lofty zero waste goal that so many companies and organizations are trying to achieve. I'm Bruce Buchan, encouraging you to never waste a moment when it comes to designing a recycling program, and always remember, culture is the #1 driver for sustainability success.